One of my former congressional colleagues who ran for the presidency himself back in 2008, joining us from Colorado via Skype. It's Tom Tancredo. Tom, thanks for joining us tonight on Newsmax Prime.
Pleasure to be with you, JD.
Now, Tom, you hear about the money that Jeb Bush's leadership PAC is raising. $100 million.
I've had to do this more than once, haven't you? Asked for no more than $1 million, just because it's so embarrassing. I've had to do it.
Well, this whole situation, what are we seeing? The establishment, the open borders crew giving substantial sums to make Bush the odds-on favorite?
Of course, JD, as long as I've been around, and you and I both in Congress know that the two biggest problems we had trying to do anything about true immigration reform in Congress, two biggest problems. One, Democrat Party saw all of the illegal aliens as indeed undocumented Democrats. Two, the second, the Republican Party, seeing all of those undocumented Democrats as, in fact, cheap laborers. And the management of the Republican Party elite is in the hands of the Chamber of Commerce. You and I both know it. They put millions of dollars into campaigns and they pull the strings. And that's exactly where this is coming from. This is a Chamber of Commerce sort of agenda item, major agenda item. And it probably fits into Jeb Bush's campaign plan. That is to say, if he can present himself as the only guy out there, or person out there, because, you know, Carly Fiorina might be there, but the only person in the race that actually is in support of amnesty and therefore an establishment candidate, all of the other votes, all of the other folks will get the votes of the Tea Party group and the more conservatives. He'll end up then with the progressives in the Republican Party, and he thinks that can get the job done for him. So it's a two-way street. He gets all the money, and he thinks it's a good political strategy.
So you win the nomination by losing the base of the Republican Party. Tom, how much of this, in your view, is simply the Bush family business, at least in terms of the fact not only of politics, but somehow an accommodation with the philosophy of open borders? You'll recall we sat down with Ken Mellman in the wake of George W. Bush's re-election. We sat down over dinner, and I want to be diplomatic, but we came dang near close to reading him the riot act about how the administration should not pursue amnesty, and yet George W. Bush, despite our protestations, went back to that amnesty plan, or as he called it, quote, comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah, you know, for George W., who knows what the motivation was? He was president. He actually believed, I think, to a large extent, that was the way to extend the Republican marker. I don't know. And I think maybe it's his own personal sort of agenda item more than even political. I don't know for sure. I certainly remember the dinner that you were talking. I don't think we ever got to dessert. I think the conversation got so heated that we ended up leaving a little early. But you know, you're right. It's been a long time agenda item for the Bush family. But I think in this case, it really is because he started this so early, and he's not even trying to equivocate. Hey, you got to give him that. Listen, everybody else for so long went, well, we have to have comprehensive immigration reform. That doesn't mean amnesty. Oh, don't say amnesty. He's not afraid of it. He's not afraid of it at all. He's coming right out. So my guess is it is, as I said, both a political strategy to win the primary, and he thinks it'll be, he'll benefit by it in the general because, of course, Hispanics will flock to him. That's another huge mistake all Republicans who get into this amnesty thing make. Will they ever understand, JD, that Hispanics vote for Democrats at about 70% for exactly the same reason other people vote for Democrats? They want the Obama phones. They want big government. It's got nothing to do with immigration. And no matter how much you pander, you will never get their votes.
Tom,
not if you're
let me ask you, time is growing short. About 2.5 minutes remain in the segment. The other candidates running, you've got some young candidates, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush's fellow Floridian. Of the field, is there anybody who is standing up as a genuine anti-amnesty border hawk?
Yes, sir. There is. There's one, and only one. That's Ted Cruz. He's been consistent. He's been as forthright as you can imagine. He's been gutsy. I'm telling you, I am so proud of him because he has not tried to do the little walk, that straddles the line. He says it, he's plain about it. He's my guy.
So you are endorsing Ted Cruz?
I most certainly am.
Well, you were making news.
I hope Ted Cruz doesn't mind.
Well, it's just that we've seen editorials where some folks have taken all of these candidates to task saying, oh, you talk about border enforcement, but then there's the backfill and the wiggle room rhetorically of we've got to do something about the people who are here. So that's why I think a lot of us are still a little bit skeptical about the people in the race thus far. One closing note.
I understand that. I do understand that.
The piece of rhetorical art used by the pro-open borders crowd, the pro-amnesty crowd, quote, people coming out of the shadows. Tom, is anybody illegal really left in the shadows? 45 seconds.
I certainly have never seen, believe me, not around here, they're not. They're very happy to protest, to walk down the street, carry banners, carry flags of Mexico. They're not in the shadows at all around here, buddy.
Well, we appreciate the fact you are shedding light on the situation. Before we go, you ran for president in 2008. 20 seconds, your advice to anyone who runs for the job.
Take more than $1 million if somebody will give it to you.
Well, apparently Jeb Bush is in that situation. Again, the reports coming in that his folks are saying, please limit your donations, at least early on, to the leadership PAC to $1 million apiece.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate it, Tom Tancredo. Thanks so much for your time.